Hello and welcome to FineScale Modeler Weekly.
Indeed, we're back and we're here to show you what's new and exciting in scale modeling.
We are going to start, as we always do, by cracking open some new products.
And maybe cracking a few jokes as well.
You have some new jokes to crack?
Not currently, but we'll see as the episode goes on.
Okay. In the meantime, just got me, the same old joke.
Starting with ICM's 1/48th scale Junkers Ju-88P-1 tank buster.
This replicates a small number of the versatile bomber that were fitted with a 7.5 centimeter Pak 40L gun in a specially built gondola in the belly.
In a previous NPRD, which you can see at the link in the description, we looked at ICM's initial release of the Ju-88.
As is to be expected, much of the kit is the same, including the fuselage halves and wings with fine recessed panel lines. The engine nacelles, props, vertical stabilizer, and rudder are different, and you get the same nicely detailed cockpit and engines.
A new lower center section is supplied to accommodate the ventral gondola and a mount for the 7.5 centimeter gun with optional muzzle brakes. New clear parts supply the gondola's rear gun position, and the instructions provide mask templates for it and the other clear parts.
Decals give stencils and instrument panels, as well as markings for 3 identical aircraft, either at the Reckland test site or on the Eastern Front.
ICM did a great job on the initial Ju-88, and this adds a nice lesser-known variant to the mix.
Israel's Merkava series of tanks have always been popular modeling subjects.
And here's Academy's boxing of the 1/72nd scale Merkava Mk.III.
This nicely detailed kit has previously been released in Revell and Ace boxings.
The main hull builds from the belly, sides with road wheel arms molded on, and the top with good surface detail and integral fenders. Sand skirts, rear stowage baskets, and the rear mud flaps finish the hull. The road wheels, idlers, and drive sprockets are wrapped with Lincoln-length track to finish the running gear.
The wedge-shaped turret features separate sides, a 2-part mantlet and barrel, posable hatches, bustle stowage basket, and the ball and chain protection for the rear.
Decals provide markings for 4 Israeli tanks, one from the 188th Barak Tank Brigade in 1990, another at the Combat Training Center in 1990 and 1991, and a pair of unidentified Merkavas.
These 1/72nd scale tanks, designed by Ace, are really fun builds with good engineering and detail.
We have some more books that we thought were worthy of note.
If you like Spitfires, and who doesn't, check out Mushroom Model Publications' Spotlight on number 28, Supermarine Spitfire Mk.III, Volume 1. The 40-page hardcover is filled with color profiles for Spits in RAF, American, and French service.
The other 2 books, also from MMP, are in the single series, starting with number 50, covering the Caudron-Renault CR714 Cyclone. The slim 24-page softcover features scale drawings, service and walk-around photos, 3D renderings, and a color profile.
Single number 51 does the same for the Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-21R, with scale drawings, service and detail photos, and a color profile. These books offer great value with good information if you're building the subject.
Finally, we have a kit of a mainstay Soviet block trainer.
Here's the latest version of Eduard's 1/72nd scale L-39C Albatros, a kit that's been on the Czech manufacturer's catalog since the early 2000s.
Despite its age, the kit has always been good, and Eduard has updated it several times over the years.
Airframe parts, such as the fuselage and wings, have fine recessed panel lines. There's a jet pipe with fan detail at the back. The kit lacks complete intake trunks, but the deep intakes and buried fan make the emission all but invisible.
The 2-place cockpit has optional photo-etched metal or decal console and instrument panel details, controls, and seats. One of the improvements made over the years are the clear parts, which include optional parts to display the canopy open or closed. Masks are supplied. Pre-painted photo-etched metal supplies 4 options for the instrument panel and consoles, seat belts, and controls. Unpainted photo-etched metal supplies cockpit trim, canopy details, antenna, pylon connectors, brake lines, and handles.
Decals supply stencils in 4 different configurations and markings for 6 Albatros. A Slovak 2nd Fighter Squadron aircraft painted to celebrate the 100th birthday of famed Czechoslovak pilot Otto Schmick in 2022. A Czech Flight Training Center plane in 2023, a Russian Navy trainer in 2018, a Ukrainian Albatros in 2-tone dark green camo in 2015, an aerobatic team aircraft from the Kazakh Air Force in blue and yellow in 2012, and a privately owned Czech air show performer in gloss black as it appeared from 2004 to 2014.
So many choices for just one plane. You might need to buy more than one.
You know, kind of smart. That's
Thank
a really
you.
good idea.
Thanks.
If it or any of the other products we looked at today catch your eye or on your to-do list, let us know in the comments.
FineScale Modeler Weekly is brought to you by Hobby Zone USA, your source for hobby storage solutions, hard-to-find hobby tools, and aftermarket modeling needs.
I didn't know until this morning, although I suspected it, that I had a hooked needle on one of my airbrushes. You know, the spray wasn't coming out quite the way that I wanted it to, and there's just something off about it. So I got out my microscope, I put the needle underneath the microscope, and sure enough, I could see it wasn't huge, but there was enough of a hook at the end of that needle that was giving me a hard time. All right, so underneath this magnifying glass, you can kind of see it. That hook there is just coming back toward me. Maybe difficult to see, but it is definitely there. And it is, while not severe, it is enough to be causing me a little bit of pain at the workbench while using the airbrush. So much so that I don't really want to use the airbrush right now. Now, I could go out and buy a new needle for the airbrush, and who knows, I might still go ahead and do that. But there is another option that we did receive from Spray Gunner, and it is called the SharpenAir, or a play on sharpener, I think, and they call it the world's first airbrush needle repair tool. Inside, we've got the actual tool itself, and then a pad of, I don't know, 10 or 12,000 grit sandpaper. So on the tool itself, you can see that there are 4 holes, and each of those holes is at a different angle. This one, the most severe to the least severe. And inside here, and we'll take this off later on, inside here are sharpening stones. Now, what you're supposed to do is insert the needle into that hole, twist the needle 10 to 15 times, and then go from the highest, well, I'll say the coarsest grit to the finest for the sharpening stones inside, one after the other, and giving each, again, 10 to 15 twists. So we're going to go ahead and give that a try. I'm just going to lightly insert that in. I'm going to let it do its own thing, and not pushing, but just turning. $10, $11, $12, $13. We'll go to the next grit. I can feel that in there, that stone. 6. 13. Try not to bend it by sticking the end of the needle into the side of the machine, the tool. 13. I've been keeping with the 13. And then finally, the finest grit. That's 13. Okay, now, test would be putting it back underneath the magnifying glass or the microscope. This is underneath the magnifying glass, and as I'm turning it here, I'm actually really impressed that that hook is now gone. I'm very pleased with how that's turned out. Finally, the instructions for the SharpenAir, which you can find at their website, suggest that you polish the end of the needle after you've done all the sharpening on the polishing pad that is provided, just to help prevent tip drying while you're airbrushing. So again, just sandwiching the tip of the needle between the polishing pad and my finger, and then turning a dozen times, just to go ahead and polish that. Now, of course, proof is in the pudding, or proof is in the airbrushing, and I'll go ahead and take the airbrush home with me tonight and see what I think. After putting the airbrush back together, I filled the cup with water and then sprayed over a plastic trash bag just so that I could try and catch what that cone looked like for you. And you can see that the cone is symmetrical, and it's nice, it's even, and it's coming out without any hiccups. I'm actually really impressed by that. I really like what that did. Now the SharpenAir is held together by 3 screws, and there are 4 stones inside. You can take this apart and reveal the stones. I almost felt like I was being lied to. It's like, where are the stones? There are only 2? No, there are the other 2 right there. Of course, this stone being the coarsest, and then it going on from there. And even this coarse stone doesn't feel very coarse at all. And I show you this because in case you need, if you get the SharpenAir, you would need to replace these stones. As they get used, you can turn them over, use the other side, flip them, flip them around and get as much use as you can out of them. But if you had to replace them, there are more stones available from SharpenAir. And before I get comments, let me change this to, it's not so much the grit of the stones. The stones are, I think, all pretty much the same grit. It's the angle of the channels that guide the needle to the stones. That's what changes and gradually then takes away that burr as you move progressively from the steeper angle to the more shallow angles. I really like this tool. On the super severe hooks, I'm not sure if it works or not. The one that I had with my airbrush wasn't extreme, but I would give it a try if somebody came to me and said, hey, can you try and take this hook out? I'd give it a try before telling them just to go and buy a new needle.
In some sad news, we learned that Frank Cuden, a longtime contributor to the magazine, passed away. Now, Frank wrote his first article for FineScale Modeler in 1985, which means he's been with us for 39 years, almost the entire length of the magazine.
He was a member of the Twin Cities Aero Historians for 40 years, and in 2016, he was named the Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame's
Artist of the Year.
That's right. Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame's Artist of the Year.
He was an enthusiastic aircraft modeler, always fun to talk to. Here are just some of the many models he contributed to the magazine over the years.
And we hope you enjoyed what he wrote. I know that we enjoyed working with him, so here you go.